I'd expect to see you face to face. Stay better someone.
Then let them live, but not if they're built on lies.
The colonel's laughter echoed through the base hall, sharp and cruel. That's not a soldier's uniform. That's a costume, he jeered, pointing at the young woman standing tall before him. Her uniform was spotless, her stance perfect, but her calm eyes had more than any rank on her chest. Moments later, the doors opened and a Navy SEAL lieutenant in full gear walked in, then stopped, snapped attention, and gave her a salute that silenced the entire room. If you love your mom and dad, hit that subscribe button and show some love to her, because what happened next will make you believe in respect, redemption, and real power. It was early morning at Fort Arlington, a sprawling joint training base where Army, Navy, and Marine units often cross paths. The sun had just crept over the horizon, casting long golden lines across the parade ground. Inside the mess hall, soldiers gathered for breakfast, some laughing, some scrolling their phones, others too tired to care about anything but caffeine. Second Lieutenant Emma Carter stepped in quietly, carrying herself a composed confidence that seemed to radiate calm. She was new to the post, a transfer from a smaller unit, where she'd earned commendation for leadership and valor. But here, surrounded by hardened veterans and career officers, her reputation meant little. She walked past a group of officers when Colonel Richard Harlow, known for his arrogance and outdated sense of superiority, noticed her. "Well, if it isn't the little girl they sent from logistics," he said loudly enough for the whole room to hear. Emma froze mid-step. The colonel leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Tell me, Lieutenant, that uniform regulation? Or did you borrow it from the Air Force Band?" Laughter rippled around him. Emma stood still, back straight, face neutral. "No, sir," she said calmly. "It's standard issue." Harlow's smirk widened. "You must have mistaken standard issue for Fashion Week." More laughter. But what no one in that hall knew was that Emma Carter had seen more action than half the men laughing at her. She had served 2 combat tours under classified missions in the Middle East as part of a joint intelligence task force. Her file was locked under Level 7 clearance. Even most officers didn't know who she truly was. She took a slow breath, refusing to show emotion. "Permission to be dismissed, sir?" she asked quietly. The colonel grinned. "Oh, no. Stay. I like having an audience when I teach lessons in humility." The room grew tense. A few soldiers looked away, uncomfortable. Emma's calm only fueled the colonel's need to assert dominance. "You see, men," he said, raising his voice, "this is what happens when politics get in the way of the military. We get soldiers who don't look the part." Emma's jaw clenched slightly. "With respect, sir," she said, "a uniform doesn't define the soldier who wears it. Actions do." That silenced some laughter. Harlow leaned forward, mockingly impressed. "Oh, a philosopher. Tell me, Lieutenant, what kind of actions have you seen? Filing paperwork? Fixing printers?" The room chuckled again, but few officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was going too far. Emma didn't flinch. "I've seen men fall, sir," she said softly, "and I've seen women carry them home." The colonel's smile faltered, just for a moment, then the doors swung open. The hall quieted instantly as a Navy SEAL unit entered, led by Lieutenant Commander Jack Dalton, a legend on base, known for his heroism and absolute command presence. His eyes swept the room, catching the awkward tension instantly. He spotted Emma, still standing at attention before the colonel, and something flickered across his face. Without hesitation, Dalton marched forward, boots echoing through the hall. The colonel turned, surprised. "Commander Dalton," he said, forcing a grin, "what brings the SEALs to breakfast?" Dalton didn't answer. Instead, he stopped 2 feet in front of Emma, locked eyes with her, and snapped to attention. His right hand rose in a perfect salute. The room fell dead silent. The colonel's smirk vanished. "Lieutenant Carter," Dalton said clearly, voice echoing with authority, "Ma'am, it's an honor to see you again." Emma returned the salute with quiet dignity. "Likewise, Commander." Every eye in the room widened. Colonel Harlow blinked, visibly confused. "You two know each other?" Dalton turned slowly, his gaze cold. "Know her? She saved my unit." Gasps filled the air. 3 years ago, Syria. Operation Broken Falcon. Dalton continued, eyes locked on the colonel. We were pinned down, surrounded. The only reason I'm standing here is because this woman coordinated our extraction under fire. She led the drone strike that cleared our path. She didn't hesitate. While we were bleeding in the sand, she held command. He took a step closer. You don't laugh at a uniform like that, Colonel. You salute it. The silence that followed was deafening. The colonel's face drained of color. I wasn't aware, he stammered. No, you weren't, Dalton said sharply. Because people like you never look past what's in front of them. Emma shifted slightly. Commander, that's enough, she said calmly. But Dalton wasn't done. No, ma'am, it's not. Men like this are the reason soldiers like you don't get the respect they deserve. The colonel tried to recover his authority. Watch your tone, Commander. This is my base. Dalton's lips curved into a thin smile. Not for long if command hears about this. He looked at Emma. Permission to speak freely, ma'am? She nodded. Granted. Dalton turned to the entire room. Every one of you who laughed, remember this moment. Because someday when you're in the field, it won't be rank or gender that saves you. It'll be competence. And if you're lucky, maybe someone like her will have your back. With that, Dalton saluted again, then walked out. Emma stood quietly, the weight of silence around her. Slowly, one by one, soldiers began to rise from their seats. Some saluted. Others simply nodded in respect. The colonel stood motionless, trapped between shame and disbelief. Emma turned toward him. Permission to be dismissed now, sir, she asked evenly. He swallowed hard. Granted. She walked away, every step calm and measured. Word of the incident spread like wildfire through the base. Within hours, it reached higher command. Reports were written, phone calls made, and before sunset, Colonel Harlow received an unexpected message. Command requested his presence in D.C. for review of conduct. It wasn't an official demotion, but everyone knew what that meant. Meanwhile, Emma continued her duties as if nothing had happened. But the soldiers around her treated her differently now, some with guilt, most with admiration. Even those who had laughed that morning now stood when she entered a room. Respect once denied had finally been earned, but not because of confrontation, rather because of quiet strength. Days later, Commander Dalton found her by the training range. You handled that better than I ever could, he said, leaning on the railing. Emma smiled faintly. You made it easy when you walked in. Dalton chuckled. You deserved it. You saved my team. I owed you one. She shook her head. You don't owe me anything, Commander. I just did my job. He looked at her seriously. No, you did more than that. You reminded this place what real leadership looks like. That night, while most soldiers slept, Emma sat in her quarters reading a letter from home. Her father, a retired sergeant, had written her words that brought tears to her eyes. Don't need to raise your voice to be heard, sweetheart. Just keep standing tall. She smiled, folded the letter carefully, and placed it in her locker beside her medals. 2 weeks later, a base ceremony was held for an incoming general inspection. The colonel was notably absent. On leave, they said. As the ranks lined up in perfect formation, General Foster arrived, flanked by several top officers, including Commander Dalton. When the general reached Emma's row, he stopped, turned to her, and said, Lieutenant Carter, step forward. She obeyed, heart pounding. The general nodded toward Dalton. Commander Dalton brought your name to my attention. You've displayed professionalism and valor beyond expectation. Effective immediately, you're promoted to first lieutenant. Applause broke out through the formation. Emma saluted, her voice steady. Thank you, sir. The general smiled. Thank your actions, Lieutenant. Dalton, standing nearby, caught her eye and gave a slight nod. It wasn't a grand victory. It was quiet justice. After the ceremony, a group of younger cadets approached her hesitantly. Ma'am, one of them said, we just wanted to say we're sorry. We were in the mess hall that day. We laughed. Emma looked at them, expression soft. Then learn from it, she said. That's how we get better. They nodded, humbled. Months passed, And Emma's story became part of Fort Arlington's unspoken legend. New recruits whisper about the woman who turned humiliation into honor. Even the cafeteria staff started calling her Iron Calm. She never liked the nickname, but it stuck. One evening, while training cadets on the range, Emma heard a familiar voice behind her. "Still showing the boys how it's done?" Dalton teased. She smiled. "Always." He handed her a sealed envelope. "Transfer orders. Command wants you leading an integrated tactical division. You'll be the youngest to do it." Her eyes widened. "You serious?" "Completely," Dalton said. "Congratulations, ma'am." She opened the envelope later, heart swelling. It was official. She was being reassigned to a joint operations unit under Navy coordination. The same kind of mission she once dreamed of leading. Before leaving Fort Arlington, she walked once more through the mess hall, the same place she'd been mocked months ago. Now, soldiers stood when she passed, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. She paused, looking around quietly, then smiled. Later that day, as she packed, she received an unexpected visitor, Colonel Harlow. He looked different, humbled, older somehow. "Lieutenant Carter," he said quietly, "I came to apologize." She turned, surprised. "You don't have to, sir." He shook his head. "I do. I was wrong. About you, about everything. I let my ego speak for me." She nodded slowly. "Apology accepted, sir." He exhaled, visibly relieved. "Good luck in your new assignment. You'll do great things." She smiled softly. "Thank you, sir. Take care of this place." He gave a small nod and walked away. As her helicopter lifted off the next morning, Emma looked down at the base shrinking below. The same ground that had tested her had also proven her. Dalton's voice came through the radio. "We'll see you out there, Carter." She smiled. "Count on it." The camera of memory would fade here. The image of a woman standing tall in her uniform, no longer mocked but honored. A soldier who taught everyone that respect isn't granted by rank or gender, but earned through strength, grace, and unshakable resolve. And somewhere in that silent sky between bases, her father's words echoed once more. "You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. Just keep standing tall."